I thank Godfrey for his submission, and then I also thank Marjorine for her submission as well. They point at quite important issues. Marjorine talked about incorporating reproductive health education in the school programs, and that is quite an important issue. We've been doing this under the running project, and we hope that every other school can be able to take up from that. But that calls for us, the players, advocating wherever we are in the spaces where we have the might to influence. As we are influencing in our spaces, we should be advocating for these issues. Marjorine talked about the teachers spending most of the time with the students. With the statistics I shared earlier, the numbers skyrocketed during COVID lockdowns because the schools were closed. This is ideally an indicator that most of the time, when the girls or the boys are in school, it is one way of delaying their sexual debut. Sexual debut being their first time to encounter and into sexuality. So by keeping these girls in school and keeping the boys at school, we are limiting the damage. And that is shown in the statistic that was skyrocketing at the time when the learners were not at school. I would want to know, Marjorine, as a mother and a parent, a proud parent, how should the parents create an environment where children are free to discuss these issues with them, so that they are not caught in the mid of ignorance? Over to you, Marjorine.
Okay, thank you so much, Moses. So as a parent, yes, I'm a mother of two. My firstborn is 4 years, the boy is 4 years, and the girl is just 8 months. So as a parent, especially because we know that most of the parents, the fear is my child is too young. Yeah, if I start now, what will happen if they get older? So what I always encourage parents to do is to get age-appropriate conversations with the children, because we know that if you say, no, my child is too young, let me wait until they are maybe 18 or 16, girls are getting pregnant at 7 years, 8 years, they are raped at even 4 years. So I would encourage the parents to start there. For example, for my 4-year-old boy, he knows that no one is allowed to touch this part, tell them this is my private part, this is the other. Because while we thought that most of this damage was happening to the girls, and yes, it is true, the boys are being molested as well these days. That is why we have all this going around of the gayism and LGBTQ. So we need to protect both genders. Don't say, oh, my boy is okay, he will fight for himself and things like that. So I would encourage the parents to start there with a child. Start early, get age-appropriate conversations with your child, because if you do not, then the exposure we have right now is too high, because most of the children, we know that during COVID, they were exposed to phones because they were studying online and things like that. So you find someone who is like maybe P1 or P2, that is around 7 years, 8 years, they have their phone, they're on the internet. You do not know what they're watching. You do not know what information they're taking in. So if you do not, as a parent, tell them early, then they'll learn from their peers or they'll learn from social media. And what they see is what they'll believe. So it is better for you to tell them early such that they know what is right. And when they see this information right out there, they at least have an idea that, oh no, my parent or my mom said this is not right. My dad said this is not right. And also for the fathers, do not leave this role for the moms, because we find that when it comes to that, the fathers are like, that's the mother's duty to do that. And then when you come to the mothers, they're also shy to share. So you need to have to say, okay, how do we start? Let us start with the basics. If it is a child, because we know that even the 3-year-olds that we live at home, they're molested by the house helps at home. So it is everywhere. So you need to start where your child is. And you know that if my child is maybe 3 to 5, what do I tell them? If they are 6 to 10, what do I tell them? If they are maybe 11 to 15, what do I tell them? If they're grown-ups, 18, what do I tell them? So you just get basic information. But also, if you do not have that information, seek help. As a parent, ask from a fellow parent. What do you tell your children? How do I talk to them? And things like that. And that's why in the past, parents used to take the children to another adult. They used to call them sengas back then, to give that tough conversation, because for them, they were too shy to share. But if you believe that maybe I don't have the right information, or I'm too shy to share, then maybe get help. Because if you do not tell this person, then they will eventually get this information and it will be misinformation. And that is what they'll believe, and that is what they'll be engaging in. But also, when a child comes to you, because these days the children are more open, they'll come to you and say, oh, mommy, I had my friend told me we should do this and the other, or I had the boys at school saying this, or I had the girls at school saying, don't say that. That is an embarrassment. No, let them share, because the more you allow them to have open conversations with you, the more they'll open up. There are very many children that are being molested in homes, but they are quiet. Why? They fear to tell their parents. Yes, so we need to also create, as the teachers create the open conversations or an environment where the children are free to share. Let us as parents have it at home. Encourage them that whenever someone tells you about this, or when they touch you a certain way, tell me. And then they'll be easy to open up to you. But if you don't, if you show them that you're the tough one, don't say those things, it's embarrassing and things like that, they'll keep quiet and they'll be damaged. We go to schools, primary schools, and a 6-year-old can't stand up to speak. Why? They are too terrified. And there is one specific girl who shared that my worst time is when the school says it's time for holidays. She hates, like she fears going back home, because when she goes back home, it is rape and defilement every single day. And it's happening under the roof of the parents. She stays with the parents, but the parents have no idea that it is happening in their house by an elder brother. So we need to have these conversations. I know they are hard, and very many parents shy away from them. But like I said, if you do not have the courage to share, find someone who can come in and help you. Also have honest conversations. When the children come to you, do not lie. Just be honest about these things. Because then if you don't and you try to go around the issue, or you see and all that, then you are not helping them at all. Like we said, the exposure right now is on a high. If you as a parent, you don't step in early enough, then they're going to get this information on the internet and things like that. They'll be in their bedrooms on their phone. You think they are studying, yet they are not. They are consuming this information. And also when it comes to phones and exposure and social media, I do not encourage children to have phones. I am so against it. While we were growing up, yes, the exposure was there, but you realize that we got these phones much later. So even if it is school, let it be supervised. Like, okay, my child has the phone from this time to this time. I remember a parent came to us and they were sharing that the child is in P6, I think P6, and they were using the phones definitely to study, but they had created their own WhatsApp group as students, as pupils, and in there they were sharing nudes of themselves. Imagine P5, P6, P4. They're doing these things. So if you think your child is too young, you are leaving them to the hands of the wolves out there. Yeah, people do not care these days. They share this information freely. And by the time you say, okay, let me wait when they're 18, I'll sit them down and talk, the damage will be too huge already. So as parents, let us stop shying away from this information. Just find age-appropriate information to share with your child at that specific time. And then let us try as much as possible to protect these children because now we know where the vices come from schools. Know your child's friends. Do you know their friends? They're always saying, Mommy, I've gone to my friend. Mommy, I've gone to my friend. Daddy, I'm going to my friend for this weekend. Do you know their friends? Do you know what their friends do? Do you know which activities they do when they go out there with their friends? So we need to have these conversations, but also at home in our communities, watch out for the neighbors. How do they behave? What are the values of those parents? That is also important because as parents, we need to have values, and these are the values that children will pick on. That's why they say that usually discipline and all the manners that you have start at home. start at home. But these days, even as parents, we don't have values. Like you wake up, you're busy. You wake up, just rush to work, come back late in the night, children are sleeping. You wake up early, before they wake up, you go back. Like, yes, it is true, you need to make the money to provide for them, but then it won't make sense for you to have all the money and you've lost your children. Yeah, so we need to strike a balance. Yes, back to you, Moses. Thank you.
Marjorine, thank you for that insightful submission. This is a very hot topic that we can discuss for the entire year, and it will not end. But we thank you for all your submission, and we thank everyone online for keeping around.